Hey guys, well today we're going to be covering each part of our barn and new horse facility. Everybody had a lot of great questions when I posted the overview of the barn and how I built everything. Now we're going to break it down into a lot more detail of each part of the facility, why I built it, how I built it, try to give you as much detail as possible, okay? So the first one was just kind of an overview of what I built. The next one's going to be detail on each part of it. So the first part we're going to cover is the actual horse stall itself, okay? Rightio guys, okay, so from the outside, this is what the stall looks like here. I have 28 stall barn, okay? And I didn't build 28 because I want 28 horses in training, but you know, most horse trainers are going to keep anywhere from 25 to 35 horses in training. So 28 is a good middle ground for resale value. Everything I do now is about resale. How do I sell it in 10, 15, 20 years? So if you build it too small, horse trainer's not going to want it. Too big, you cut down your market on who would want to buy it. So 28 stall barn, okay? So the first part we're going to talk about is the grid of a stall front, okay? These are all custom stall fronts. I like it so that you can see into, as I'm walking past, I can easily see, you know, the horse in there. I can see if he's laying down. I can look over here and see, is there any feed in the feeder? I can see the molasses tub. So it's very, very visible. So step one, I want to be able to walk past my horse in a glance and know that everything's okay, okay? Second of all, airflow. So a stall front like this keeps a lot of airflow kind of flowing through it. Next thing, I like this, okay? I like the horse to be able to stick their head outside, okay? This is Eva. She's one of my futurity prospects for next year. She's a really good, nice horse. So I like to be able to go past them, give them a little love, rub on them, give them a treat, something like that as you're walking past. So as the horse sticks its head out, okay, it can see the other horses down the barn aisle, but they're sticking their heads out as well, okay? So they can kind of get a view of what's going on. Like across here, this is my buddy Thor, so he's sticking his nose out, seeing what's going on as well, okay? So I also have a piece, let me just push it back. So I have another insert that goes up in here that will fill that yoke in. So if I had a young horse that I thought might try to jump out or run through the gate or do something silly, I'll insert a piece there, but I'll keep that solid there. So you'll notice at the top here, I've got a number on the top of each stall. Okay, what that does is allows me to be able to direct people of what horses in what stall. So if a veterinarian shows up or the farrier, I don't want to have nameplates on every single stall because sometimes we swap horses around, horses get put in different stalls. I don't want to have to take the nameplate off every single time I want to change a horse's stall. So that's optional, but I just numbered them 1 through 28 so they're easy to find there, okay? So in addition to the outside here, every stall has a bucket holder here. That's the Protozol that I put my horses on for EPM. They each have 2 outlets here, so if I want to clip a horse in a stall or a veterinarian needs electricity to work on a horse, they've all got their own individual fan as well. Okay, so up there, these are all custom fans that are built. They move a lot of air and they're all custom. So each horse has their own fan in there as well. And then I just hook the halter here under this bucket. There's just a hook here. There's obviously a blanket bar here to put a sheet on or a blanket. So it's just really nice and open and you can see through it. And I really like it a lot. Now, obviously, these are a few months old now, so you can already see that they're getting some dirt on them and just, you know, it's a barn, of course, they got some dirt on it. So every 6 months, I'll come in with a big industrial power washer that has hot water in it and soap, and I'm going to power wash the entire barn, the stalls, the walls, the roof, power wash everything every 6 months. That's why I put these drains here. That's why I did this. All throughout the barn, I've got these drain holes that that take the water away. So every 6 months, I'll power wash the entire barn and get rid of any dirt and debris and just keep it clean and looking nice, okay? So as we go in, it's lifted up. They're all on a sliding door, okay? So if it's locked now, if I want to get out, I just put my hand out, lift it up, and push it out. So inside here, I have a chain here, but I tie the horses up to when I get done working them. I want to tie them up for at least a couple of hours every day after I work them. My last thing I want them to do is come back to their stall and start eating. Okay, I have a Ritchie waterer in the side, a stall fount, and each stall. I won't build a barn and have waterers without them being Ritchie. They are by far the very best waterers in the country. Each waterer has its own shut-off valve, so if a waterer had a problem or horse damaged it, I can easily shut that water off without shutting them all off. Come on, Eva. So in the stall, these are what we call custom feeders, okay? So typically the feeder that you'll buy at Tractor Supply or your farm co-op looks like this, okay? It's a side feeder that bolts to the wall. But the problem is they don't hold up. Your horse will back up here and start rubbing their ass on it, and you'll come back the next day and it's all bent up, or they'll run into it and squash it down, or they'll get their teeth on it and pull it. So I took one of those feeders and I took it to a steel fabrication place, and I told them, I want you to basically copy the design of this, but build it out of really thick steel, really heavy duty, so that they could rub their ass on it, they could run into it, they could pull on it, and nothing's going to break. So they were pretty expensive, and then I went back and had them powder coated black. You don't have to do that, but I had them powder coated black to kind of match the barn, okay? So they're the feeders. What I like about them is I can put pellets in there. They get Stanley hay at nighttime, not nighttime, at lunch, sorry. And they get Stanley pallets AM and PM, so I can put pellets or grain in the bottom, and then hay in there as well, in the hay rack. I also have a molasses tub here for them as well that they can lick on. Why do I like the molasses tubs? It gives them something to do during the day. It puts a nice shine on them. I think the horses will like it a lot more. This brand here, they're the ones I like. Horselick, and they're really, it's got vitamin minerals in it. My horses look really good. Been very happy with that product. Now again, my horses are in hard training too, so it's not like they're just going to sit there and founder on a tub of molasses. They're constantly getting ridden and exercise, so I'm not worried about them foundering on that, okay? If I want to tie a horse up here, I can tie him up and allow him still to eat. Why would I want to do that? Sometimes I might saddle a horse and I get called away for a meeting or something. I don't want to unsaddle a horse, but I want to put him back in his stall so he can eat. Why? Because these futurity horses, they burn a lot of calories, okay? They burn a lot of calories, so it's important that I get as many calories into him. So I can tie him up here. The horse can still eat. If he pulls back, I don't ever want to tie him to a feeder or do some dumb shit like that. Wherever you tie a horse up, always ask yourself, if he pulled back or got into a wreck, how bad a wreck is it going to be? Okay, so, you know, it'd be real easy to not put that there and just say, oh, screw it, let's just tie him to the feeder. Well, if he pulls back and rips the feeder off the wall, we're into a major wreck. Okay, so again, each stall's got their own fan. So the inside of the stall is solid walled stalls, okay? Now, why did I build solid wall stalls, okay? Well, a couple of different reasons, okay? Over the years, I've had every option of stall known to me. Solid wall stalls, I've had stalls that, you know, had wood up to about here and then bars, and so they could see the horse beside them, all that kind of stuff. I eventually went back to the solid wall stalls for a couple of reasons, okay? Most horses that can see the horse beside them and can see through them, the advantage is they can see the horse. But the bad part is you seem to get a lot more bitching and fighting, especially when it comes to feed time and feeding them, that they'll kick the wall or want to, you know, charge the wall with the horse beside them, and there's just more social pecking order bullshit going on, okay? So when you have solid walls like this, it takes all of that fighting and bickering between them and their neighbor out. So you're constantly trying to rearrange your barn to make sure that the horses are getting along. It limits you on where you can put stud horses, where you can put mares, things like that, okay? By doing this here, I can basically put any horse in any stall, and whether it's a stud, a mare, gelding, and I don't have to worry about the fighting and bitching. Now, within saying that, they can see across, so I still want that here. So as I turn this around now, they can see across, they can see the horses on the other side here. So this is Eva as they look out. They can see out here. They can see all the other horses down there, down this way. They can turn their head, see all the horses. So they've still got plenty of socialization as far as making them mentally feel comfortable, but other horses around, but they're not able to fight as much. Another reason why I did this is that when you go to a horse show, a lot of horse show facilities have stalls with solid walls on them. If your horse is only used to having a stall with open sides, some young horses, when you take them away the first few times, they lose their shit because they're not used to being in a solid walled stall. So because they can't see other horses or touch other horses, they lose their shit. Okay, where I want them kind of get them used to that experience here at home. So if I take them away from home and it's open, I don't have to worry. If it's closed, I don't have to worry about that. Okay, so let's talk about now the stall floor. Okay, underneath in the alleyway of the barn is concrete, and then I put rubber mats over the top of the concrete. Okay, expensive, yes, but well worth every penny. It's good on the horse's legs. It takes care of their legs and joints better. And it's not as slippery. Concrete can be very dangerous around horses, okay? And it just really keeps shoes on a lot better too. The shoes stay on a lot longer. They don't, the nails don't come as loose, etc. A lot of benefits to it. Anyway, so in the stall itself is not concrete, of course, because I don't want them standing on that. So there is 8 inches of compressed limestone. What do I mean by compressed limestone? Different parts of the country, they call it different things. It could be chat or screenings. A lot of places call it. So it's a little bit of a limestone crushed up, and you put that down in a 2-inch thick, water it, and then whack a packet and really pack it in. Come back a couple of days later, put another 2 inches in and water it down and pack it in. And you do it in 2-inch lifts so that you get really high compaction. Don't just throw in 8 inches and pack it down and say you're good, because it'll all settle. So I do it in 2-inch lifts over 2 or 3 weeks, and it's 8 inches thick. And then on top of that, I put rubber mats on top of that, interlocking rubber mats on top of the screenings. So that way, if any pee does get through, okay, if any pee does get through the rubber mats and shavings, it's just going to filter down through the screenings, okay? And then obviously, most of the time, you're going to be picking up manure and picking up pee in the shavings when you clean the stalls once a day. We clean the stalls once a day here. At a horse show, we'll usually clean them 2 or 3 days just to keep them a little cleaner. But here at home, typically once every 24 hours, we'll clean them out, fresh shavings, all that kind of stuff, okay? So, it comes back to the next thing, okay? Is there a stall in the world that's safe for all horses? And the answer is no. There is no perfect stall that's going to keep every horse perfectly safe, okay? I spoke to a lot of people that have cinder block stalls, and all these walls are core filled with concrete all the way to the top. They're 8 feet tall. Why do you want them core filled? So if a horse does kick it, he's not going to kick his foot through the cinder block and rip his foot off. Okay, with wood, here's the problem with wood. Typically wood, about every 10 years, you're replacing the wood because wood rots out. Wood's a product that deteriorates over time, especially with moisture, okay? So wood stalls, you have to redo them about every 10, maybe 12 years. You might be able to get away with it. I've had horses get injured in wood stalls where they'll get cast and lay up beside the wall, and then they'll get cast, and while they're cast and struggling, they'll get a splinter in their knee or a splinter in their leg off the wood. I've had wood will shrink when you put a wood in a stall. Over time, the wood shrinks, and then you have to pull the first board off, squeeze them all back together again, get rid of all the gaps, and put them all back together. So wood is just, you have to oil wood. It's just a needy motherfucker. That's all it is. It's just, here's what I learned about wood. Wood, when it's new, looks beautiful. Nothing sexier and classier than wood. But it is a pain in the ass material to have to deal with it, because it constantly needs maintenance, okay? These cinder block stalls are virtually going to be maintenance free my entire career. Now, I'll probably, did I have to paint them? The answer is no. I just painted them so they looked a little nicer, but in hindsight, I probably should have gone back and just got, you can get these cinder blocks now that have a stain in them, they have a pigment in the block. So, and that way you don't have to paint them, okay? But they're a lot more expensive. I got regular gray cinder blocks, and then I went ahead and had them painted, and they've actually got like almost 6 coats on them. The first 2 coats a primer, and they just fill in all these gaps and make them relatively smooth. Kind of cinder block can be a little rough to your hand when they first go up. So I had 2 coats of primer put on, which fills up all the holes. Then I had 2 coats of this color and 2 coats of this color. Okay, so it's actually got 6 coats of paint on the entire stall. I used a paint that they use in high schools and things. I don't remember the name of it. Sherwin-Williams makes it, but it's really easy to clean and power wash. They designed it for high schools for these little shits that want to graffiti on the walls and paint on the walls, that they can get shit off the paint pretty easily. So that's the paint that I used, okay? Is there any specific reason why I put these colors of paint? No, I just thought they blended well. The walls and the ceiling is a little bit of an off-white color. You can paint them any color you want. I just thought gray looked a little bit fucking doom and gloom, so I wanted to brighten them up just a little bit there, okay? The size of the stall is exactly 12 foot by 12 foot, inside to inside diameter, okay? Obviously bigger is better, but it takes up more space, which makes the barn bigger, roof bigger, everything gets a lot more expensive. In a perfect world, 14 by 14 would be what I choose. If I had a limited budget, I would put it on 10 by 10 stalls is what I would do, okay? 10 foot by 10 foot, and these are inside diameters too, inside diameters, okay? So 12 by 12 inside to inside is a good standard stall that'll work for most size horses. You know, if you've got big warm bloods or Percherons and shit like that, you know, you're probably gonna need 14 by 14. The bigger the area, the less you spend on shavings, because the horses mix the manure and the shavings less. Like take this horse for example, Eva, okay? See that there? She is a grade A perfect shitter. See that? That is a perfect shitter right there. She took 3 or 4 dumps all in the exact same spot. She hasn't walked them in. It's been several hours since she hasn't walked them into the rest of her stall, and she said, Daddy, there's 3 shits, come back tomorrow and I'll put 3 more in there and we'll be great. Eva, that's why you're my favorite. You're just a perfect shitter, okay? And then there's other horses, for example, that will take a shit in each part of the stall and then deliberately spend the next 4 hours rubbing it into every square inch of the shavings they possibly can. Okay, that's why Eva's my favorite, because she's a perfect shitter. Okay, the rest of you arseholes need to learn from Eva. Okay, so that is everything I think I can tell you about the stall. Okay, here's the bottom line, guys. Is there a stall that is 100% horse safe? The answer is no. Horses are nothing more than accidents waiting to happen. You can put a horse in a cotton wool, you can put him in a straitjacket in a cotton wool padded cell, and they will still figure out a way to get hurt. That's just the way they are. Even in a pasture, okay? I've seen lots of horses in my career run through a fence at night time and stab a T-post through their ribs, through their belly, through their heart, okay? So there's no perfect place to keep a horse. All we're trying to do is make them as safe as we possibly can to keep our horses in good condition, okay? Now, what do I do as far as turnout? Well, we typically ride our horses every day, or at least 6 days a week, okay? If they're not gonna get ridden, depending on the weather, we'll either put them on the walker for 30 minutes and just let them get some walking exercise for 30 to 40 minutes at the walk, okay? Or on the weekends, I've got 2 little turnout pastures where we'll just put them in a turnout pasture for 2 or 3 hours, let them eat a little grass, let them buck, play, frig around for 2 or 3 hours, and then bring them in and put the next horses in, okay? So I always find this interesting. I got a kind of kick out of this that I have to comment. On the last video we did on the barn, there's this whole group of what I call quote unquote woke horse people. And they love to make these comments like, oh my God, my horses live outside 24/7. So I'm a much better horse owner than you piece of shit Clinton, okay? This is a professional training barn. We don't have 1 or 2 trail riding horses that live outside 24/7. We've got 28 horses in here, ranging from the cheapest ones about 40 grand to the most expensive ones about 400 grand, okay? So we can't put 30 horses in a stall together. We can't put 30 horses in a pasture together. We've got stallions, we've got mares, we've got all ages of horses. So do you think I want to call up an owner and say, hey, by the way, your $150,000 reiner, it's got a fractured hock? Because when you put horses and pastures together, what do? They always fight. This is my buddy Thor, okay? He's one of our reiners here. He's a good boy. He's dumb as a bag of rocks, but he's my favorite, okay? Other than Evo, but I like this one a lot, okay? So I don't want to call Thor's owners up and say, by the way, your horse just got a fractured hock because I turned him out in a pasture with 3 other horses because it's quote unquote more natural for them, and he's fractured his hock and now we've got to put the horse down. Okay, so the people that get off on this woke bullshit of I keep my horses outside. Is it better for them to be outside? Yes and no. Yes, in some ways that they're turned out, but again, I've seen horses kill themselves outside. I've seen horses run through fences outside. I've seen horses break each other's legs outside. So again, there's no perfect place to keep a horse. There really isn't, because they're just nothing more than accidents waiting to happen. That's all they are, accidents waiting to happen. So when you're in a professional training barn, you've got to have all the horses under one roof, as close to you as possible, so that you can get them ridden and exercised in a timely fashion. So for all these quote unquote woke horse people out there that just love to brag about my horse stays outside 24/7, congratulations, you're the greatest horse owner God ever put on the earth. I'm so proud of you. So anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. This specifically was only on the stall. We're going to be covering each part of the barn in detail. So we're going to go through all the rest of it in detail and only do a video on that particular part. So I hope this helps you cover why I built the stalls the way I did, the materials I used, and the reasons behind what we did. Cheers guys, bye.